Hello and welcome from me, Cammy Bell, to the Black and Gold podcast in association with Annan Athletic Football Club. Thanks for joining us on what should be a cracking episode with loads of insight, stories and laughter along the way. We'll delve into the career of our guest, we'll look back at his best career 11, and then we'll move on to our higher or lower game and some quick fire questions along the way. Just a quick reminder to everyone that's watching, please share, like and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Black and Gold podcast, where you'll find all our updates and episodes on there. So let's get our teeth into this first exciting episode and welcome along my co-pilot to the journey, an Annan Athletic legend, current backroom staff member, most appearances in the club history, 360, well over that I think. A good friend of mine, Peter Watson. Pete, what do you make of the new studio setup? The next hour we've got ahead with our guest.
Buzzing to get to this point, Cammy. I think it's been great. What I've enjoyed most is the journey me and you've been on.
In life? Or?
Both. Getting the studio sorted. Like I say, we've had a lot of help from friends and family, and it's nice to finally get to this point where we're recording the first podcast. So
Yeah, no.
I did notice you highlighted the word teeth.
Yeah.
Let's get
Teeth,
teeth
that, I think that was aimed at you, a slight dig.
I think we've got to
Slight dig at you.
co-pilot, red rum.
And then big gnashers that you've got there. But no, it's been a long journey. I think we spoke about this at Hodham over a few beers, and we had the idea of, again, just a podcast. Annan Athletic, obviously, we're associated with and we're the official podcast of Annan. I think a lot of people wanted Annan to have a podcast, but actually to bring it here, it has been a bit of a journey.
It has.
It's, I think it looks amazing. The signage, it looks absolutely fantastic. So
it's done well.
Yeah,
Neil Irvin
Yep.
was a big advocate for it at the football club. He was absolutely buzzing when we said we were going to start it, and if we were all right to affiliate it with the club, and I couldn't be happier. So I think it widens outreach for the club, for the fans, gives them an insight of what's going on with the club, and hearing people.
And we want to interact with the fans as well. That's what we want to do. We want to get the fans involved. Hopefully they'll enjoy the shows, episodes, get questions in. Again, what we said about our social media, interact with us, send us any questions you've got. We'll put it to our guests going forward. I know we've done that for this episode, so it's quite exciting that as well. So, well, that takes us into, obviously, me introducing our guest. I'm delighted to welcome today's guest to the Black and Gold podcast. He's a well-travelled player throughout Scottish football and has now jumped into the hot seat of management. He's pulled on the shirts of the likes of Queen of the South, Kilmarnock, Dunfermline, Crawley Town, St Johnstone, Falkirk, Stranraer, Dumbarton, Peterhead, Stenhousemuir, and of course, Annan Athletic, where he's currently player-manager. Welcome to the show, Willie.
Thanks, Cam.
Lovely round of applause there for Pete. Willie, thanks for coming in today to the Black and Gold podcast. Obviously a first episode fitting you being the current manager of Annan Athletic as well, so thank you very much. What do you make of the studio and the setup and the next hour we've got ahead of you? A couple of feature bits in there as well for you?
Yeah, I think obviously I've been in here before and it wasn't like this. It was just a plain room. Pete's came in and showed us a little insight over the phone and stuff, and then obviously we've seen your little bit on Facebook
promo.
And that, the promo, and honestly in here it's really good work and
Transformed,
yes, and also you've touched on what the podcast is going to do. It's going to give the fans an insight, fire in their questions, and you're going to have guests. I'm delighted to be the first guest, represent Annan Athletic, and hopefully in the future as well you'll have more players, past, present, whatever, and the interest will grow from there.
Yeah, I think what it does do, as you say, it joins up the fans and the club together again, having you here as the manager. That's what we want to do. We want to get the fans being able to ask you questions. Again, I know you've had a couple of question and answers since your time at the club, which is great, I think, because fans want to know what's going on at Annan. And that's the only way the club can grow, is if there's that interaction between the fans and the players. Hopefully the next generation's coming through of fans as well to support the club, because for me, I've certainly been from Annan, that's what they need. They need to drive the club forward, and hopefully I'm pretty sure this podcast will help with that. Willie, we'll just go on to the start of the season, which I'm pretty sure all the viewers will want to hear of what you make of the start of the season that you've had so far. It's been a quick transition into just being a player from last season to becoming manager over the summer. I think it was June you officially got announced, and then you've had a lot of hard work, obviously getting players in, getting your own squad, getting your own identity to the team. What do you make of your start of the season?
A mixed bag, to be honest. The Premier Sports Cup obviously comes around really quick. Performances in the Cup was really good. Unfortunate not to qualify. We ran Dundee very close. I know we got beat 3-1 that night, but even Tony Dock, their manager, had complimented us on how we played and performed on the night. And then obviously we start the league really well. We win our first 2 games. We're sitting nice and pretty. And then that's the downside when you pick up a few defeats and you want to turn defeats into wins to be successful. And obviously we went to Stranraer in the other cup on Saturday and had a right good performance, and we're in the next round. But then we're back to the bread and butter, as they say, in the league on Saturday, which is a massive game for us.
Yeah, let's touch on the positives first. Certainly, the League Cup. I think there's some massive results, especially with there being teams in your league, and again teams that probably looking certainly from the outside in. For myself, that I would say Arbroath and Inverness before the season started, I would have fancied them to be up there to try and get promoted, and then you just go and take them on, and you beat both of them. But then there was obviously that little negative result against Bonnyrigg.
You said positive.
Okay, you've got to throw in a negative there. So we'll stick with the positives and then I'll go to the negatives. I think them 2 wins certainly stood you in good stead for probably belief for your players to think that we can actually go and compete with these top teams in League One this season. Yeah,
I think for the players, obviously there's big changes in the summer in terms of management coming and going, and we sit down as staff, Pete, Andy, Belly, myself, and we set our own in-house targets and stuff, and we are trying to say to the players all the time about belief. We believe as a coaching staff that we've assembled a good squad that can go and compete and surprise a few people. So I think the results in the Cup then allowed the players to maybe have that belief the same as us, because there's a lot of outside noise at times, and they'll favour Annan for the drop, and it was the same last year. So to stay up last year was a big success for the club, but for me and for the coaching staff, we want to push on through there and take the club forward. As
you say, that outside noise, it's always like everyone looks at Annan as a little small town, and just little.
That's what it is.
It is, and it's good that. Again, I think Annan need to have ambitions. I'm pretty sure I know yourself quite well, and you're a very ambitious person. Yeah. So it's great to have that, because I hate that when people think, it's only Annan. Where's that? It's down south. It's down near the borders, and don't really know where it is. So to try and put Annan on the footballing map is quite important for me, I think, and to have people that are driven within the club is great. That result, we'll stick with the positives. We'll just wash over.
Do you know what? Sorry, I was going to say. What's helped massively is you've recruited well in the summer.
Yep.
I think with Murph done a great job 7 years. Obviously it's a fresh start for everyone. Then there's that excitement of who's coming in, who's going, what's happening. Paul Smith, Paul McGowan's, Ken, the boys.
Josh Todd.
Josh Todd, Ken. That was massive for the fans especially, but for in-house, like you say, for you and for us, it was massive. Like, fucking hell, this is really good. It's going somewhere, a bit of momentum.
Can also be a fresh start for people who maybe Murphy didn't like or didn't play as much, so it gives them. We've seen it yourself, when a new manager comes in, you think, well, I've maybe not been playing under the old man, but this is a fresh start. So
as you touch on that, I think if you look at the current squad now, you can see that Ryan Muir and Enrico Cotongo are 2 that were out of favour under the previous manager, and that can happen. I've been in that situation myself, and I think I gave both of them new contracts in the summer, and I said to them, look, I've got faith in you, and you have now got the opportunity to repay that faith, but to do that they've got to go and train and play well.
Mm-hmm. No, totally. So touching on the weekend result, good result, 5-1 away to Stranraer. I know Stranraer struggling at the moment, obviously change of manager.
The biggest local derby.
The longest. How many miles is in that? It must be a good...
What's it, 89 or something? 80 something miles?
It's not a local derby, is it? You get a boat there.
Facing Galloway derby.
No, it was a good result, and again just brings that confidence back after a couple of weeks. Again, the Queen's result, I spoke to Pete about that, and it was maybe one of them ones that missed opportunity and felt as if he could have done better in the game. And then obviously Alloa, probably a team that I fancy probably going forward. They're quite robust, they're very experienced, so I think they'll be up there this season. Then probably that one that kind of threw me when I was doing my media stuff on Saturday was just anyone, the 5-1. Looking from the outside in, it looks like a batter, and then I looked at the stats and it wasn't really.
Well, I'll take you back to the Queen's game first. We didn't do enough in the game. We were below our own standards, and credit to Queen of the South, they came away, they done enough in the game, scored 2 good goals, and well, from their point of view, whereas we look at from our point of view and what to improve, because we see that the goals are avoidable. Like you say, Alloa, for me, they'll be up there. Andy Graham's a good manager, he's done really well since he took over. They're well drilled, they're an experienced side. Their movement down at our place, their experience in terms of creating space for their own teammates and unselfish running and stuff like that, it was a learning curve for some of the younger players in the squad. And then you touched on Stenia, it was still raw for you. Well, I think 5-1, you're quite in the game. You've got the most possession in the game. Aidan Smith missed his penalty, make it 2-2, and then at half time we're saying to the boys, the next goal is crucial as it is, and we then make 3 mistakes in the space of 7 minutes and find ourselves 5-1 down and the game's done. But on reflection of that, like you say, we had most possession, most crosses, most corners, most shots on goal. However, we didn't take the chances, and Stenhousemuir took theirs, and that's the bottom line. So the target was then on the back of a 5-1 hammering, I would call it. It's a tough game to go to Stranraer. I know you're saying that they were struggling. They're obviously without their manager. Aggie's left for his own reasons, but then we know that they'll be looking for a reaction for their players. Robbo in there, probably looking for the job. I know that he's got his name in there because I spoke to him after the game, and as a guy that's taken charge of the team, he wants that reaction for the players, and we kind of expected that. We started the game off really well, and then Stranraer got their goal back, and for probably 10-15 minutes they were on top, and then we got our penalty which settled us down. We go in 3-1 at half time, and again we just talk about being professional in the second half and making the second half as easy as what we could for ourselves, and I think it was a thoroughly professional performance in the second half, and there was only 1 team in it in the end.
Great. It was a great result, good reaction, give the boys confidence going into the Dumbarton game on Saturday, a big game at home. Hopefully the fans will, once this goes out on Friday, I'll get behind, rally around the club, rally the fans.
Had the tickets
the
at £5.
The fans have been great.
Tickets are £5.
The fans have been great, and the backing that they've gave me so far has been incredible. So hopefully, like you said, they get involved in the podcast and more turn up at Gallowbank every week. And if we can add a few more to the travelling support, that'd be great as well.
What we've not touched on is team of the week and goal, 3 assists.
Yes.
I will just brush over that.
I've seen that actually. I've seen that.
People keep saying to me, you're 40.
I'll get to that later, Willie. Don't worry about that.
You're 40 and you're continuing playing and this, that, and the next thing. But I've always said that as long as I'm contributing, then and I think Saturday backs that up. So pleased with that.
You're 40. How do you look so old?
I can't believe you two are younger than me. Well, so I certainly don't look it.
No, you're the only one of us still playing.
No, great. So good luck on Saturday. What we're going to do now is we'll delve into a little bit of your career, which again has had a number of clubs.
I was looking at that. I thought you were going to go onto a second page for a second.
I nearly did. I was running out of breath when I was saying it. So you started off your senior career obviously at your local club, Queen itself, being from Dumfries. Talk us through just briefly on your debut against Queen's Park back in 2001 season, I think it was.
Something like that.
Yeah, a long time ago.
I was 16 at the time.
Yep.
And you've got no fear at that age. People think, you're nervous and that. I wasn't. I was on the bench for the first team, and I was out warming up, and John Connolly shouted me in and said I was going on with half an hour to go, and you know, it was just, I was delighted I was making my debut for my club that I had supported, you know, as a kid, and you know, I still hold that very high in regards to what I've achieved in my career. I think at the time I was probably the youngest to make my debut for Queens. I know that's been beat since then, but no, it was a moment that I'll cherish.
That's great. So you were at Queens for 6 or 7 years, I think. Were you part-time at that time, or was it full-time?
So we were part-time at the start. I was actually a labourer when I left school, and Ian McCall was kind of trying to do the full-time part-time. Phase it in. So there was only myself, Emilio Giaconelli, Paul Burns. There was maybe only 4 or 5 of us that were actually full-time and worked with the manager during the day, and then trained at night time with everybody else. When Queens went full-time properly, I was away at that time.
Any players or that stick in your head from that 6 or 7 years period that, again, just quality characters, whatever you want to throw at us?
Well, I've got
some in your 11.
I've got my best 11 there, but John O'Neill for me. He was unbelievable. He was an experienced player who I had a lot of respect for, and he drove standards on and off the pitch.
I remember John O'Neill watching him. Do you remember going to Queen's games and watching him when you were young?
Box to box midfielder, scored goals.
He was brilliant. He was good on the ball, very technical for that era. And I didn't realise he'd played so many games for Bournemouth. Honestly, no. So he's like, his career was really, really good. He had as I say, I can remember him when I was watching Queens as a kid. He was a top player, as you say.
It was a good era for Queens.
I was going to say in the same era with Steve Bowie, who was phenomenal as well. Yep. Peter Weatherson.
Was Stevie Mallon there at that period, or was he before? Or?
Stevie was there when I was kind of trying to break through. I was in the reserves, and you know, I think the Kerr brothers as well, Ross and Gary, they were in the reserve setup as well, and we were playing in, I think it was back in there, it was like the South League or something. We had a reserve team in, and that was a learning curve for us young boys, and you know, we got to play with
against
them. Jeff Patterson.
Jeff,
Jeff
remember
was an Boiler, two unbelievable talents, you know, and they probably I was told to stay away from them because they loved it.
I was going to say they enjoyed the nightlife at Dumfries at that point, I think.
They did, yeah. But no, I was very kind of blessed in terms of the squad we had back then when I was coming through. Jimmy Thompson,
Big
Andy, obviously.
Big Andra.
I was actually trying to fit him into that best 11.
Yes, he's on the bottom of the bench.
He's on the next page.
You know, he's been a massive support to my career, and then obviously to get the chance to bring him as part of my coaching staff was a great opportunity.
Obviously, you'll kind of know, but see, having that influence with good, steady professionals, proper professionals when you're coming through, must be a massive influence on your career or your upbringing as a footballer.
Definitely.
Just good habits.
Well, I drive it into the players now as well. You know, there's some of the young players, 18, 19 at the club that I've got the privilege to train with. Josh Todd, Paul McGowan, Stevie Bell's obviously coaching, but he's training as well. And as a youngster, that's what you should be driving towards, being as successful as they are.
Yeah.
And you left Queens and joined Killie?
Yep.
I can remember travelling in your car for a wee while, a couple of years maybe.
I think you were wanting to switch off half the time listening to me moaning.
Just making sure you were watching the road when you were driving at that point.
You were living at Annan then, were you?
Yeah.
So you were, back of the hill,
So we were car sharing. It was enjoyable times, but then I'll tell you, some of the journeys were long.
Might as well have been a fucking ambulance with him. He was injured that much.
He's in the back with the game ready on like that. Jim Jeffries signed you.
Yep.
Relationship with Jim Jeffries, how was it?
I think everyone obviously knows the blow up that I had with Jim following the Aberdeen game.
I'm going to come to that.
You can come to that.
I don't know about it.
It was all blown out of proportion. You know, the media get a hold of that, and you know, the fans then hear about it and this, that, and the next thing. But me and Jim, you know, we settled our differences and that, and then even after Kilmarnock years later, I was talking to Jim, and you know, anytime I needed advice and that, he would always be there. And the same with Billy Brown, he was a madman.
Oh, mental.
And I remember his rant at East Fife. I'd been there, done that, been places and whatever. And that was Billy. And I think you know, there was sometimes a clash of character and stuff, but
what I was going to say was too fiery between Billy and Jim were quite similar. Billy was a wee bit more wound up after the games. He used to pace the changing
Pace it
room.
up and
Oh
down,
my
aye,
God,
aye.
if he got beat, he would scratch his head and walk up and down just shaking his head
You'd
for
just,
about half an hour
you'd
as
just
well.
be sitting there thinking, is it me or
Aye.
is it somebody else?
And then he'd just go off on one.
Yeah.
But two brilliant characters, Jim and
Aye.
Billy. And again, what I would say is probably you and Jim are very similar, as in winners, very passionate.
Heart on the sleeve.
Aye, so
Yeah.
very much you could see why you potentially clashed. Going on to that Aberdeen one,
Yeah.
I can remember it myself. Obviously, you came on as sub at half time, I want to say, and then you got subbed off with about 5 or 10 minutes to go.
I think it was maybe more than that. I'm not
Was it?
actually entirely sure, but do you know, that's what it is. Jim had said to us, I'm not sure if Aberdeen were actually down to 10 men or something, but it was 0-0 at half time, and he had said go on and win us a game,
Yep.
because at that time, and there's a wee bit more to it, but afterwards on reflection, as you get older and more mature, you go into coaching and whatever, you start to realise that these people were right.
Mhm.
So in terms of this, Jim had seen me as an impact player. Go on, win us a game. I go on, I think I set the goal up, we go 1-0 up, then he drags us, and then you're being subbed as a sub, and you feel
It's embarrassing.
you feel this big, you feel,
Yep.
you know what I mean. So the hothead that I was, it wasn't, you know, walk off, shake hands, job done. It was straight down the tunnel.
And the tunnel had to be all the way down at the bottom of
Correct.
Pataudry,
right
didn't
at
it?
the
Right in the
bottom of
corner.
Pataudry, everybody, there it is. And then I get into the dressing room and I'm still angry as fuck. Like, there's no calming me down. I actually phone a taxi. I'm like, fuck this, I'm going home.
Taxi for Aberdeen in the face. Amazing.
No, so I phone a taxi and the guy says it's about 400 odd quid. I'm like,
Cancel that taxi!
fuck that. I was like, I'm not paying that. I said, that's more than the appearance fee. So I went and sat on the bus. And that was it.
Did the top come off though?
The top came off, and that's where I think the fans didn't like it, because
the tunnel,
it was disrespect to the club by throwing the top away. But that's just
It's just emotion, though,
that
isn't
was
it?
frustration.
Frustration, aye.
And you probably still see it in me when I'm arguing with refs at the age I am now. It's frustrating. You're out there to do a job. You're out there to win. You don't get nothing for losing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just the type of character I was.
What I was going to say on this subject was you said you learnt a little bit and you think Jim was right in
Yeah.
what he done. And it's difficult. You would never want to come on as a sub and then be subbed. As you say, it's quite an embarrassing situation. See, as a manager now and what you've went through as a player, would you do that to a player?
Right, so when I say I learn and think the way a manager thinks, so I don't necessarily still agree with that. I don't, like, me personally, I think that you're degrading the player by doing that.
Right, okay,
That's just my personal opinion. What I mean in terms of
You understood?
Understood Jim, it was more understanding Jim that he maybe seen me more as an impact. So when you're there as a player, you obviously believe in yourself, and I was there to play. And you know, I would go in the team for 4 or 5, and then you know what it was like Gary Locke, great player, would hardly train, but the minute Rangers Celtic came round, he would be the first name in the team sheet. But that was because the manager could trust him. He wasn't maybe still as fit as he was, but in the big games his contribution was excellent. Whereas I would be frustrated that I'm doing it in training and then not getting the opportunities. And it's not until, like I say, until you mature or you go into your coaching and that, and then you look at the squad that we had now. The first 2 years, I think I was at Kilmarnock, we got the top 6, and then in the third year we were struggling. But they top 6 finishes, some of the players that were playing ahead of me, I didn't appreciate how good they were.
Aye.
And maybe Jim was right in terms of, right, you've made the step up from Queen of the South to the Premier League. You're maybe not ready to start every game. I've just got the full belief in myself and my ability that I am. And that was just the way I am. And I've been like that at every club. You know,
Which isn't wrong.
You don't go to a club to sit on the bench, you go to the club to play. And that's why in the next step in my career I actually moved away from Kilmarnock to go to Dunfermline.
That's exactly where I'm going, Willie, with the next one. You moved to Dunfermline. Was there a fee involved in that? If am I right in saying there was maybe some sort of...
So there was a fee going from Queen of the South to Kilmarnock, and then I still had time left on my contract at Kilmarnock, and obviously because they had paid money for me, they wanted to kind of recoup some of it. So I don't know the fine details, but Dunfermline paid a small something to get me out of that contract.
Enjoy your time at Dunfermline. You've done pretty well when you look back. It looked as if it was a good period in your career. Scored a number of goals. I think it was 15 or 16 goals you scored, and you were quite in form at that point. You enjoyed that period?
I would say over my career that was a hot period in terms of, I think, being frustrated at Kilmarnock, coming away from that and then channeling that, playing every week and thriving on playing every week and being a big part of the team, contributing goals, assists. That's what I wanted to do, and then obviously it was a successful period there. Loved my time there. Great club, great people. You know, you go back there now and you've still got Mo, the kit man, and the people behind the scenes, and that for me makes a club. And I think there's very there's similarities at Annan and what makes Annan special. Because when you're talking about attracting players to Annan, there's so many good people behind the scenes, and there's people that want the club to do well, and podcast and news guys, and you know, that's what I think makes a club. In Dunfermline had a lot of people like that.
A massive club as well, Dunfermline. Yeah, huge club, and again, the fact they're still in the wrong leagues probably for a while now. I know they're obviously back in the Championship, but you see them as a top flight club with the stadium they've got, the infrastructure. So and then you moved on to Crawley. I think, was there a fee involved in that one though?
There was a
big fee.
A decent fee.
Yep. Yeah, 150k was getting bandied about.
Move your microphone just a wee bit closer.
150k was getting bandied about.
Something like that. Obviously, I don't know too much. My agent took the fee. So I got a good wage. Obviously, as a player, that's what you want. You want to earn as much money in the short career that you've got. So the money that Crawley were brandishing about was silly not to.
Well, that's where I was going to go with, and it's sometimes difficult to ask. People ask me, why did you go to Rangers? Sometimes the money's like totally life changing, and again, no, you're a Rangers fan, aye. No, but they were in the Conference North at that time.
That's right, yeah.
Sorry, no, the conference. It wasn't conference. Aye, so they're in the conference at that time.
I think it was the Panorama at the time.
Was that the motivation? Was it just a really good contract that you can't turn down? Sometimes as players you can't turn it down.
No, there's a couple of factors, because folk were obviously saying you're leaving a very strong Dunfermline team that were challenging for the title to go for the Premier League, and you're going non-league down in England. But you're obviously getting sold. You know, Crawley were definitely going up. They already had a decent advantage at the top of the table. They were going to go into the league, and then you're sold everything from the club, so their plans where they wanted to be, and then obviously the wages was a massive thing. There was a signing on fee, there was in your basic wages, your bonuses, and that was something that Scotland couldn't compete with at the time.
Aye. And then you got that opportunity to play. You're a Man U fan as well, aren't you? So you got that opportunity to play at Old Trafford in the FA Cup.
I think that was a big part of why I actually joined in the January, because
it was in February, was it not? It was pretty.
So we played Man United in my second game.
Yeah.
So made my debut away to Kidderminster Harriers or something, and then we went to Portugal for a pre Man United camp. We went there, and then the second game was Man United at Old Trafford. So I think when all the talks were happening, Crawley wanted it to happen, but I was out of contract in the summer as well, and there was a few other options in the Premier League as well, so I was kind of wanting to. But again, when we touched on the size of Dunfermline, they found themselves in difficulty financially, and that's why they kind of floated about the leagues and whatever. They made it clear that they needed the money from selling me, so that kind of pushed it as well. But the Man United, I'll no lie to you, that had a massive influence on it.
Great experience, because obviously when I was looking back at the team that actually played, so there was Rooney, Hernandez, Carrick, Fletcher, so some amazing names in that. And
who were you marking?
You started the game.
I was, I think I was right. I was right or left anyway, and I was playing against Fabio. So of it, the twins, the Brazilian.
Yep. Come on,
no, honestly, it was unbelievable. Like you say, the names that were played in that game, and Wes Brown scored the winner.
He did.
It was 1-0. It was a very tight game. I think we hit the bar and the post in the last couple of minutes, and
full house.
I think it was 76,000 or something. So,
amazing. Aye, and you moved. You weren't there for long at Crawley. Was it homesick? Was there circumstances, the reason? Because you moved to St Johnstone on loan.
That's right. So obviously.
You didn't fall out with anyone, did you?
No. So again, people make their own stories, don't they? If they don't know, if they don't know, they'll make something up. So it's he's fell out with the manager, or he's no hacked it down there. The fact was, Steve Evans gave me the number 7 shirt for that season, and I'd been married in the June. My wife had fell pregnant, and we were expecting our first child together. She was teaching in Stirling at the time. She wanted me closer. It purely was a family decision. And Steve Evans was like, you're going to get me the sack. I've just paid a fortune for you and you're walking away. And there wasn't a team in Scotland that were going to pay a fee. So St Johnstone, there was a couple of other teams that wanted to take us on loan, but he's like, how do we get the money back? And, they weren't going to get it back. So I'd said to him, I wanted back up the road. And to be fair to Steve Evans, he played hardball at the start because he wanted me to stay. But then he understood that, my heart lay somewhere else, and that was it. It was a mutual agreement. Came up the road, and then St Johnstone, and then it was kind of always still trying to find my route back to Scotland more permanently, and that came in January.
See, touching on that there, you mentioned a couple of managers, and see, at the end of the day, obviously, you're just men, so you talk as men a lot of the time, don't you? So do you think they've got to do their job for financial reasons or whatever for the club and trying for the best for the team, and what do you always think you find a level as a guy, you think, look, it's not working for us, or you're a fucking top guy, that you have a mutual respect, and then you do end just having a chat and say, look, I need to go home, my wife's I need to go up the road.
I do get what you're saying, and I think that I'm approachable, or I like to think that I am, and I've always said since day one, come and see me if you have any problems, because you don't know what's going on in somebody else's personal circumstances. But I have worked with a few managers that you're just it's their way. And that's it, and that's when the heads butt, and then that's when obviously clashes. But I had the bottom line was I wanted up the road and he wanted to keep me, so there was arguments and falling outs and stuff, but when it sorted, that was it.
Shake your hand, walk away.
Two men shaking hands. Thanks very much.
I had that a lot in my career as well, where again you don't get on with everyone, and you absolutely don't, and that's why you jump about so many teams, and that's why I've done that.
But when you're saying that you don't get on with everybody, that's not just management.
No.
So
just people.
Like you say, there's quite a long list of teams that I've played for. I've not liked all my teammates. No. All my teammates haven't liked me, and that's the way it is. But you're there to do a job. And then see, at the end of the day, you're two grown adults, shake hands, and that's it.
I do think, though, and I've said this before, I think, see the managers that you have the conversation with, and sometimes they're hard conversations, because a number of times in my career, managers, again, they make you train the reserves. Don't just come and have the conversation with and say, you're no for me, Cammy, and I want to move you on. Great, I'll try and work with my agent to move on, but they do it in a way that just pisses you off, and I think it's the wrong way. Approachable, just speak to somebody and have the conversation. Sometimes I feel as if the managers don't want to have that hard conversation.
Well, going back to Kilmarnock with Jim, so on the back of the Aberdeen thing, he made me train with the reserves for 2 weeks, and that was kind of right, that's your punishment. But see, at the end of the day, we had that conversation, and he's like, we need you, and you want to be part of the team. We do a job for each other, and at the end of the season we'll come to an agreement, because I'd already said then, look, I want away because I believe that I should be playing, and the agreement was done there. Shook hands and said, I'll do well for you for the rest of the season, I'll give you everything I've got, and in return you'll let us go in the summer, and that's sometimes all you need. But like you say, some managers will just put you on the track tonight. Right. And they'll train you separate and all that, and that's
your head's gone then, isn't it?
Your head is gone, and as a player you lose complete respect for somebody.
I think teammates as well sometimes lose respect. If they see that happening to another teammate, they'll be like, well, that could be me.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I don't think it's the way to go about.
No, it's not.
Who would you say is the best man management as a guy that you've had? I was going to ask you this, but you wished to.
There's been a couple of people at different phases of my career, but Ian McCall.
Aye.
Ian McCall came in at Queen of the South, and I love Ian. I still have regular conversations with him now.
Did you bust up with him as well at the time?
Yeah, because the thing, as a young boy, you think you know it all, and he highlighted things that I didn't, and whether we agreed or no, so you would but he was very good for me at that. He ended up being my agent when I went to Kilmarnock, because I didn't have one.
Yeah.
So I owe Ian quite a lot for my for my earlier part of my career. And then Derek McInnes. Derek McInnes was an absolute gentleman to work with.
Top manager still as well.
Yeah, top man. You can see what he's doing. He's done it at Aberdeen for long enough, and then Kilmarnock, getting him into Europe and that. And I've spoke to him about a couple of players this year, and hopefully, if there's a chance that he'll maybe send a couple Annan's way, because we do have that relationship.
And Cammy,
what?
Are we happy to move on? Who was yours?
I don't know. I had a few that I liked. As I say, there was a number. Like Ray McKinley always took me a few teams. I had a good relationship at Dundee United with him, because again I was travelling from Annan to St Andrews every single day, which was a trek. And then he gave me an extra day off, which I was delighted with, obviously.
Warburton, you mentioned.
No, listen.
See on that though, when you're saying that, like, you come across this all the time in terms of somebody might have an opinion of somebody formed on somebody else's opinion.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I only ever make an opinion on someone
when you meet them,
how they are with me.
Totally.
So Ray, I get on with Ray, and it's fine. But then some folk will slag him off.
Aye, totally.
So, well, that's fine. You don't get on. That doesn't mean that I don't need to like him.
That's
and that's
football.
the way I am.
Aye.
And it's football. When you say it can be a poisonous place at times,
yeah.
and he's a fucking arsehole or this and that. Well, I'll just take you the way you are with me.
Yeah.
If you're an arsehole with me, I'll treat you like an arsehole. See, if you're good with me.
See, I enjoyed Kenny Shields as well. I think Kenny's one of the big things for Kenny. He was very controversial in the media, and but again, what he wanted to do was protect his players. Because I always remember when I signed the pre-contract with Rangers in February, I went in the next day and I told Kenny, and I said to him, look, I've signed the pre-contract, I want to be absolutely honest when he says, look, Cammy, I'll protect you. The press will come and ask you, because next day it was splashed all over the back pages.
You denied it, did you not?
And then so Kenny being Kenny, thinking he was smart, he came up with this story. Next press conference on the Friday. Kenny, has Cammy Bell signed a pre-contract? Absolutely not. No, he's not signed a. He's not signed a pre-contract. He went like that. He went, actually, there's been rumours that he's going to sign with Ipswich. Mick McCarthy's interested in him. So obviously the press, it goes out in the press. So the press down the road asked Mick McCarthy, Mick, are you interested in Cammy Bell?
Never heard of him.
Cammy who? Hadn't even heard of it. And I was
How
like,
many goals has he got?
Kenny, honestly, man. But again, it was just that him trying to protect you in a roundabout way, which you respect as a player.
That's what you want as a manager as well, because like, see, at the end of the day, the manager's out there in front of the media and that, and it's their job to protect their players. I had the criticism at Queen of the South at times, when the results weren't going right. Well, why is he not coming out and having a go? I'll not come out and slag players openly and publicly. If there's anything that's to be said, it's said in the dressing room, and it's kept in the dressing room. Whereas if anything happens, I come out and I front it out, and I'll always back the players. Mm-hmm. You get more respect that way.
So again, we'll just glimpse over it. You had spells at Celtic Nation, Stranraer, Dumbarton, Peterhead, Steny, all kind of lower league teams. Did you learn anything from them spells? What you're obviously facing at Annan at the moment? Pretty, I would say, similar level of clubs. Obviously, they'll all be different and have their own niches. But what would you take from your spells at them clubs?
I think in terms of, as you say, lower league teams, I'll say to anybody that's young, so like I say to the boys at Annan as well, play at the highest level possible for as long as you can. So I went part-time for financial reasons, for family reasons, things like that. But you've got players in the lower leagues, like another one in my team, okay? So they stay in part-time football for a reason. They might have good jobs and good salary at the club, and combined will be more than what you'll get from a full-time club, and I know that for a fact. So there's loads of quality in the lower leagues. I know that especially English look down on the Scottish game at times and think, we're shite up here. See, the leagues are very competitive, and League One this year, see if any team can put some sort of run together, will put themselves in a good chance to go up, because I don't see in League One a team like Falkirk were unbelievable last year. Absolutely unbelievable. We got 2 draws against Falkirk. On reflection, Falkirk should have probably won both of the games as well. They didn't take their chances, and then we've nicked it late. But I don't see that in League One. There is good teams, there's good quality, there's good players, but I think, like I said, if you put that consistent run together, you've got a chance.
You've seen it yourself. Well, boys come up potentially from the English side, and on loan or whatever, and they expect to kind of cruise it, and I think they get a shock.
Yeah.
Get a
So
rude shock.
in the team later on, I'll name a couple of boys that have came up fae down the road and been excellent.
Yeah.
But then when I was at Queen and South as well, there was a lad that came up. I'll no dig him out or that. So there's a lad that came up, and he came up for the championship down in England, and wow, he didn't know. He obviously thought he was going to come up and do as well.
Miles
as
off it.
Miles. Like at one time, I was actually thinking, has he played football before? Like,
Seen a few of them.
Yeah, so bad.
What do you look at me for?
That was just when the ball was on the ground. When it was in the air, you were absolutely fine.
I think so. He comes up with this raw pace, and he is quick. He's lightning quick and whatever. But there's a wee bit of more physicality in Scotland, and just honestly, he didn't fit in, and that happens. But I think in terms of being in Scotland, it's not as bad as what everybody thinks it is.
Aye.
You know, there's a lot of good players in Scotland.
You went obviously back to Queen's for your third spell, and you got the opportunity after Alan Johnson moved on.
Yeah.
You got the opportunity as a manager. Were you ready for that? Was it in the back of your mind? I know were you doing the reserves at that point, or for a period?
So when I'd left Steny, I went into being the reserve manager while Sandy and Alan were there.
Yep.
And
Then you signed.
And then I re-signed as a player.
Yep.
Under Alan, and had a right good season. And then Alan obviously got the sack, and I got that phone call, can you take the team until we decide what we do?
Yep.
So then I had that chat, and do you know, as an ambitious guy that I am, I looked at that. Is management something that I want to do? Yes. Was I ready for it? Perhaps not. But then you got to weigh up, will the opportunity come round again? So I took the job, and you know, again, when I talk about making my debut for the hometown team that I had supported, that was, you know, a great moment. And then obviously being asked to be manager was another great moment.
Mm-hmm. No, again, sometimes you're never ready for it, and you've got to take that leap. And
how do you know unless you
exactly,
do it?
absolutely.
You know?
Obviously, you got relegated that season.
Yeah.
Was that, that's obviously not down to yourself because you came in at a difficult period, but was that, as soon as you got relegated, did you believe that you could have got them out of League One? Was that your firm focus to speak to the board and say, look, I'm your man, I can get you out of League One back into the Championship where Queens belong? Was that your sort of thinking?
Kinda. When you say that it wasn't down to me, I was part of it, so I don't shirk that responsibility. And you know, it hurt being relegated. It doesn't feel good. That was the first time in my career that I had been relegated. But then you look at it, right? What can I do? Right, we've got to win the league next year, or we've got to win promotion. And you know, I think that given a little bit better financial backing and more time, then we wouldn't have been far away.
Mm-hmm. No, and obviously there was that unique and special moment where father and son played. First in, I want to say, is it Scottish football?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Father and son.
You know. So.
No, I honestly don't. Again, people. It's outside noise. Do you know? I didn't know this until it was Malcolm who does the video in Queen of the South who told us after the game. They were all wanting pictures. I didn't know. Very special moment.
Touching on managing your son, how did you find that? Because again, are you harder on him or are you softer on him? Because it must be difficult for Lewis, obviously, in the changing room.
You'd have to ask Lewis, but I think...
were you just the same with him as a real player?
I feel that I was the same with him, but looking at it, I was always quite hard with him at home.
Right.
Do you know, when he was going through the youths and everything, I wasn't just picking out his negatives, it was where to improve. Do you know, because I knew that he had the ability, and I knew that he wanted to go and make a career for himself in the game. So it was always kind of just, right, you've done well, but what can you do better? I'm
presuming he had the characteristics to be able to handle that as well, seeing it as constructive criticism rather than, look, he's been hard on me, he's hammering me all the time. It's
as a kid, though, you might naturally think that you're on them as a mum or a dad.
You kind of always need to put that arm around them and say, look, this is for your benefit. Yep. It's no me having a go. It's just me trying to make you better to help you improve. And he got it.
He's done well to get him.
And he's done well, and he's got his move to race, and you know, it was good going. That was the first time I had the chance to go and see him on Sunday. So
did you go? Right?
The family went to Somerset and
Really
seen
nice.
him. So he done well.
You'll not be asked back, obviously.
No.
Then obviously you got relieved of your duties as manager at Queen's.
Yeah.
Again, kind of discuss us through what happened with that, with the discussions with the board and how it came about. Do you think it was justified?
No. We all know the outcome of the scenario. It wasn't being sacked on performance related. It was sacked on the back of an allegation that was later proved not true.
Yep.
That's something I live with every day, and I always held my head high. Always, even the day after I got the sack, I was at the school drop off and facing people because I had nothing to hide. I've had a couple of solicitors let her go to a certain individual, and we'll see the outcome of that.
So do you definitely don't feel like, do you feel as if it could have been handled a lot better?
100%. Again, when you talk about a manager protecting your player, the chairman should have done his job, and he should have stood by me until the hearing was out there, and then made a decision. But he opted otherwise.
Obviously, without going into it too much, it's a tough one, isn't it?
No, because I can't obviously say too much about it.
It's a tough one to go through in your personal life as well, isn't it? It's a lot going through your mind.
It affected everything, you know. So I just put it behind me now and move on.
Which has gave you obviously opportunity at Annan, obviously, to go as a player first and foremost. You've done well as a player, and then you got that opportunity, which you're now in the hot seat at Annan as manager, which I'm pretty sure you're delighted to get back in the management game. This season, ambitions for Annan, where do you see Annan can be when we get to May?
Well, look at Pete.
Dizzy heights, Cammy.
That's all right, I'm all right with that.
Again, like I say, you set your in-house targets, don't you? And I've already mentioned that I don't see a Falkirk in the league this year. Mm-hmm. So for me, staying up is obviously an achievement for Annan Athletic. Another year in League One. But for me, just staying up isn't enough. I always want more, and that's what we're going to target.
Can Annan be? I've mentioned this before. I think I've mentioned it to you, Pete. Can Annan be in Arbroath? Can they get in the Championship and stay there? It is like, again, you look at part-time teams that have done it and sustained it for years. Arbroath were the prime example of that. Can Annan be that?
Possibly. I think in terms of that, it doesn't happen overnight. It never happened overnight at Arbroath. Arbroath are consistent, and that's what you need Annan to be. So whether that be 2 or 3 years, and then try and push for that. But again, I look at the league this year, and is there a better opportunity? So you've got to drive for success.
Mm-hmm. And on your future, 40-year-old, still playing?
Yep.
How long?
In fact, no, nearly after last night, Gowser took him out.
Wee Gowser?
Wee Gowser, aye.
He'll be on the bench on Saturday, then, will he?
Listen, I thought
And you'll never guess he was moaning about something.
No chance. He doesn't moan, does he?
I thought I was an angry wee guy until I met Gowser. Moaning, and then the ball goes in the air, and he's like, I've won the header. He's nearly broke my ankle.
Amazing. He's one of these, I can always remember playing against him, and I just think, when is he going to stop?
Shut up.
Like, honest to God, his teammates must be, their ears must be bleeding. But he's
do you know the thing is, he is like that, and I don't think you'll change him, and that's not a bad thing, because see the standards that he drives every night in training, that's a level that boys have got to get to. And yes, it'll maybe take a bit of time for players to adjust, because they've not maybe had that last season, or like I said, they're 18, 19, they're just into that environment, and they're thinking, holy shit, what's going on here? But that's the standards that you need to meet.
I seen him. It was one of the games, and you could hear him in the first half, and he was dogging him, really going at it. Seeing him come in the changing room, his arm was round the boy. It was wee Ryan actually, and he sat beside him and slapped him on the leg. Come on, son, you're better than that. So he's saying it on the park because he's in the moment. Well, you know maybe better than me. He's fucking just wants to win. Just that competitive standards. Just go at it, and he just when he's got that moment just to fucking reflect a wee bit. It's like, hey, come on, just the arms round him and he's trying to look after it.
But again, that's what we say in training all the time. It's no
personal.
If your teammate's not doing enough, you tell them.
Yeah.
It's the way you tell them. There is a way to speak to players, but you need to. If they're not doing it, you need to lift them. You know what I mean? And if you're not doing it, you need them to lift you.
Yeah.
It's all part of the football. You know, it's part of life. And then see at the end of the day, like you say, when you're in the changing room or you're together as a team, you're tight as fuck.
Yeah.
You see Wullie on the pitch, put you under pressure here, Pete. How many years has he got left in the legs as a player?
Honestly,
yeah, go on. Honestly.
I think he's pushing his limit at the minute.
I knew he was going to say that.
Numbers. Let's talk fact. Like numbers, your numbers are always up there.
Yeah.
You're always is there or thereabouts with the well, maybe Aidan
Woody's been really good since he's joined Blackburn.
But there's not been many boys.
Aidan's like a wee buzzball, isn't he?
Aidan will outrun anybody at any point.
He's a Simon Murray, Annan Athletic.
I think. Well, at times I've said to him, "Let me try and make you a better player this year," because I think he uses a lot of energy to give everything for the team, but sometimes he can save bits of energy for his part of his game.
Yeah, he's trying to do other people's, isn't he?
He's trying to do other people's, and he's too honest. He just wants to win. He just wants to do his bit for the team, but sometimes he's doing other people's jobs and letting them away with it. So it's more, right, how can we get more out of Aidan? And Aidan's been terrific since I started working with him.
Chasing pigeons a wee bit at times, that's how I describe Simon Murray. Honestly, he just runs, and Aidan does remind me, when I've seen him play, he reminds me exactly, so much energy. That was great, Wullie. I really enjoyed that, actually.
Can I finish?
Fantastic. Yeah, you can.
Can I finish? Yes. When we talk about quality and all, without blowing smoke up his ass, if there's again, we were watching last night, and I was in their box. Well, I was taking their box, and we've got Gowser, Wullie, who else?
Aidan.
Gallagher, Lennon, Aidan
Gallagher,
Ken,
Ryan,
the quality.
Jai.
Aye, no, it's brilliant. So it's not like he's just there for fitness, or you're there for fitness. There's a quality there, and it's to slow the game down sometimes. Or in a couple of you put the ball over for Woody for his goal on Saturday.
Yeah.
Again, so that's what the boys need to see, and that's kind of leading by example.
I think
as a manager.
Is that why you don't let him in the boxes so the quality?
And this is why I'm not allowed to say anything, because I talk shit.
I'll tell you, when he says he's not allowed to say anything, right? Belly was at the toilet when I was doing a bit of a team talk and that, so I just turned. So I always say my bit, and then I say anything to add Belly, and I give Belly his place to, you know, he's maybe seen something different for the side of the pitch, or he wants to pick up on something else. So I went to look to my right, and it was Pete. I went in, and Pete went, "No, Gaffer." He absolutely crumpled. Didn't know what to say.
Amazing.
But no, all seriousness again, I think in terms of having Pete and Andy involved with the club again, two local guys as well, wanting to take the club forward, great additions.
Yeah, no, great. I did enjoy that. I really enjoyed going through the career there, and loads of interesting moments, and yes, so that takes us nicely on to your best 11.
Yeah.
So I'll basically hand over to you, Wullie, to talk us through your best 11, career best 11. This is
formation wise.
Yeah, so this has been, you know, I was glad you gave me this in advance, because this has been the hardest part of it. So I could honestly pick probably 2 players for every position, and I feel, you know, I've maybe been a bit hard on some boys that haven't made it, but there is reasons for picking this. So I've got Saul Brynn in goals. Saul was one of the players that came up from Middlesbrough that I was talking about. Present, 6'4", good kicking.
Where did you play with him at?
Queen South. Good kicking, good catching, long throws. But for a young guy, he marshalled his defence. He was superb. On the flip side of that, it would have been quite easy to put Alan Coleman. You worked very closely with Coleman. Coleman was unbelievable.
Who would have made your third choice goalie?
well, I was the third choice for a long time in my career.
Big Samson. Du Bordeaux.
Cammy's obviously had a good career, but like we touched on earlier, his injuries at Kilmarnock, when I was at Kilmarnock with him, held him back a wee bit. But
Solbrand, again, he's kicked on because he's had loans at I want to say Leyton Orient and Swindon, I think, the two, and he's played a number of games for them.
He's done really well there. So we actually initially signed him on a year's deal, but Middlesbrough seen how well he was doing and took him back in January, and that was a massive blow trying to replace Saul. He went down there and played against Leeds United recently, and I think it was 3 or 4-0 win. So he's making his way in the career now, and wish him all the best.
Good start. Good start.
So I went for a back three, and again, this is about how we fit people in, and they're maybe not in their favoured position, but I've got Dave Mackay, who I played with at St Johnstone. Fans used to sing, "We all want a team of Dave Mackays," because he was Mr. Consistent. 7, 8 out of 10 every week. Never seen him have a bad game when I was there. Good leader.
Die hard, like a... What do you mean a good leader in terms of what?
Communication.
Right.
And he led by example in terms of performances. He wouldn't go and... He would have a go at boys, but he wasn't like just roaring for the sake of roaring. He would always kind of pass on things, but mainly his performances stood out. I know a lot of St Johnstone fans thought that he probably should have been capped for Scotland at one point as well, with his level of performances. Fraser Wright in the middle of the back three. Fraser I played with at Kilmarnock, I played with St Johnstone, and I played with him at Dumbarton. Just absolute madman would be the best way to describe him. He would go and header a brick wall. He would leave nothing out on the pitch, and he would always pop up with an important goal or two as well. So he would probably captain the side as well. Again, you're leaving the likes of Jimmy Thompson out, your Andy Aitken, Jimmy Loughlin, who I played with as well. Even just at St Johnstone or Kilmarnock, you're leaving Stephen Anderson out, who played a hell of a lot of games, like hundreds of games for the club. But that's what your job's to do, is pick an 11. Gary Hay, Hookie. Again, when I was at Kilmarnock, if I played, I probably played just in front of him, and his experience behind me, talking me through the game, and his quality as well. I think safe to say that he was probably one of the first names on Jim's team sheets. He never let the team down.
Very consistent.
Very consistent, and very rarely injured, and a good performer.
Nice.
So I went for, again, a 4 across the middle of the pitch. I've got Isa Jones. Izzy came up from Middlesbrough, and he was only at Queen of the South for a short period of time as well, but he had everything.
Young boy.
He was only about 19 or something, 18, 19 when he came, and he'd come into training and he would just be laid back, nothing fazed him. He would just be totally chilled. We'd started training at 10:15. It looked like he'd just rolled out his bed at 10:10. But honestly, his level of training and then performances were outstanding, and it's no surprise that he's went back down the road and made a regular game for himself down at Middlesbrough. Stevie Glass. So I played with Stevie at Dunfermline.
We were talking about this last night, weren't we?
We were, aye. And again, it's different opinions and stuff. But for me, he was brilliant. He was brilliant with me. I got on really well with him. And
good player, left-footed.
Good player. I think you were at Newcastle, wasn't he?
So I can remember.
You're not at Newcastle if you're a scuddy. You know what I mean? So he had great. The only thing when I was there and played with him, he was hitting 34, 35, and his legs, in terms of my legs, like you say, how long will you go? You'll only ever know when it's time, and his legs were going, but his quality never left him. Brilliant. And then inside with him is John O'Neill for Queen of the South. Box to box, score goals, drive the team forward. If the team weren't playing well, it would be one player that you would look to for inspiration and stuff. And he was hard on young boys. He had me up by the throat.
Did he?
After a game. And I didn't mind that.
Yeah.
You don't get that anymore.
No.
Fit was totally changed. You can't get away with that now. And sometimes you think with the young boys, they maybe need that just to settle yourself down, because you know what it's like. Some of the young boys come in nowadays and they're cock of the walk and whatever else, but they need pegged down a wee bit. You can't get away with it. But
you can't go wrong pegging boys like
so
cock of the walk well, actually, cock of the walk.
We were playing, I'm sure it was Hamilton, and I got booked in the first half. So for about 13 of the minutes at half time, Ian McCall told me was just speaking to me, not even speaking to the team, speaking to me. You can't make another tackle. You'll get sent off. You've had that. The referee's booked. He's had enough. 5 minutes into the second half, sent off.
Amazing.
So I'm number 11, sitting right at the door, and first guy in after the game is John O'Neill, and it's just
against the wall.
Aye, I thought he was going to actually put me on the peg. He was but that was the standards that he had, and he had seen it that I'd let the team down. But I think, no 100% sure, but I think replaying we ended up going and winning at Hamilton, so it didn't cost the team. But he felt I let the team down, and that's what it was. But that wasn't like out of order in the days. No. Do you know, that was just...
And was it forgotten about straight after that?
Done me. That's great. Like I said, the team that you're coming through with Des McEwen was there when I was just coming through. Jimmy Thompson, John O'Neill, Bowser, didn't get away with it. Mm-hmm. But that was the standards that we knew that we had to live up to, and you know, and you were accountable if you didn't.
Yeah.
Other one, wee Brycey, Craig Bryson from days at Kilmarnock, and I think again what he went on and done in his career down in Derby speaks volumes. He came in from Clyde at the same time as I came in, and he settled in a lot quicker. He slotted in, and his level of performance for a young boy taking that step, you'd have thought he played there for years. Yeah. He was so just in tune with everything, and his training, he wasn't the loudest person, was he?
No.
But again, he led by performances. Like, he probably wouldn't have shouted at anybody, but he just drove the team on by the way he played and everything. And then he goes down Derby, ends up captain in Derby. So again, you've got leadership qualities in that. And that again, sometimes when I say, no point of just shouting. Again, everybody can shout shite, but the knowledge or the information you're passing on is valuable. Yep. So it's how you get that message across, and Bryson was a terrific player. And then I opted for a front three. Stevie Naismith. Obviously Cammy will know him better than me because Cammy was at Kilmarnock longer with him. I'd moved in January. I think Nazy went to Rangers in that summer. Mm-hmm. So my first game, I'd signed for Kilmarnock, and Jeffries had said, we're playing Motherwell. I think it was in the Cup, or it was somebody at Fir Park, and Nazy scored the hat-trick that night, if you remember. And I was standing there, I was watching, I was thinking, fucking hell, like, that's unbelievable. And then the week later you're in training with him, and he was unbelievable. And
the career that he's had as well.
Again, that's what I mean, but it was like things that he'd done in training, and I'm not just saying it, like things he'd done in training, you just, again, I'm going to talk about another legend in my eyes as well, but you just looked and thought, unbelievable.
What I would say about Nazy as well is, though, he had unbelievable quality, don't get me wrong, but his work rate, the amount he wanted to be a top player, and you can see it in his management as well. He's having a tough time at the moment, but he's driven for success. That's what he was like as a player. He wanted to be successful, so he worked ever so hard, and we've spoke about this, that work rate's sometimes underrated a little bit. So
he comes across a humble guy, you know.
People tell you the first thing, there's certain things when we have meetings and chats and team talks and this, that, and the next thing, the first thing up on the board is work rate. Mm-hmm. You've got to give 100%, and that's where I think some young boys don't buy into that to start with, but it goes a long, long way. And like you say, there's probably no many better trainers and hard-working players than what Nazy was back then, and then obviously he reaps the benefits of that. He goes to Rangers and has a good, successful period, and then he goes down to Everton, and like you say, he's having a wee rocky period as a manager at Hearts at the moment, but he'll be working as hard as what he did as a player to then turn that round, and I'm sure he will.
Yep.
So in the middle of the three is Stephen Dobie. I couldn't have a team and not have him in it. I didn't play with Dobes when he was red hot, so I think he scored 43 goals or 44 goals one season, tipped for Scotland, whatever, without doubt probably Queen of South's best player ever. I played with him when he first joined, and you'll not mind me saying he was unfit, he was out of condition. I think we had signed him from Dumbarton. It was kind of his last chance saloon. Completely turned his career around. He had the Scottish Cup final with Queens, and then he goes down to Swansea, and then I think he had 3 3 promotions to the Premier League, or 4.
Cardiff,
Crystal Palace, Cardiff, Blackpool. So, and then he comes back up. He had more than Queen of the South wanted him in Scotland. I think Neil Lennon wanted him at Hibs at the time. There's a couple of other teams. He came back to Queen's because of the love he had for the club, the relationship he had for the fans, and then he goes on that incredible scoring season. And then obviously when I rejoined as a player, he was a bit part player under Alan. Alan felt that maybe he couldn't play the 90 minutes or whatever. Me and Dogs always disagreed because, again, I remember we were training one day and he done this turn and finish, and everybody stopped doing what they were doing and just clapped him, and that's how good he was. And you can see why Queen's fans hold him in such high regard. And then it was actually quite fitting that I've put this guy in, because I've noticed on Twitter and Facebook and that he's hit 250 goals.
Oh, has he? I didn't know that.
He's just been presented it. So Rory McAllister,
amazing,
unbelievable.
Played a few nightmares, I'll be honest.
Upside doing a whole lot.
He's
unbelievable.
He's obviously a big boy. He's 6'2", 6'3", but his feet brilliant. His link-up play, he just had everything. But out of everybody that I've played with, best finisher.
Aye.
Like I said, I didn't see Dobbs when he was on that peak of his career, and obviously when he was playing at Blackpool and that, right? I played with Rory McAllister, and that was the best finisher I've ever played with. You could do anything. Dink goalies, meg folk on the half turn.
When he was younger.
He lost a little bit of his pace because he had a couple of bad injuries, and when we were up at when I was up at Peterhead, he had a bad ankle injury, and he was doing the best he could for the team and strapping it up, and you could see he was still in discomfort, but he was still absolutely annihilating defenders. And I'm pretty sure that any time a defender seen him on the team lines, they wouldn't have been relishing playing up against him.
Was that
he
right,
was,
Peter?
he was brilliant. He was brilliant. Cookie, the old physio, he calls him the phenom. He just,
he's a plumber as well, is he not?
He's
better than you. Everything. All round better than you, plumber.
I would phone him before the phone beat anyway. When I spoke to you about part-time players, Rory for years had opportunities to go to full-time clubs in the Premier League, but he had a good job, and he was well paid at Peterhead, and he was happy with that.
They looked after him there as well, didn't they?
Of course they did. But when you get a special player like that, if you look after them, they repay you in so many different ways.
Aye, brilliant, great 11 there as well. I enjoyed that. We'll get Wullie to sign this, and we're going to put it up on our wall somewhere. That's the plan, Peter, isn't it? With all our guests,
as well.
Just as a little feature. But no, really enjoyed that. So that takes us nicely into our higher or lower 30 seconds game, which we've got. So I'll talk you through the higher or lower game, Wullie. We've got 30 seconds on the clock. I'll ask you a number of questions, just general football knowledge. Quick fire. If you don't know the answer, just say pass. We'll move on to the next one.
Is it like Tipping Point? You can choose like easy categories.
There's absolutely no categories. Every question you get right, once we're finished the 30 seconds, gives you an extra bonus chance, which we'll do higher or lower with the cards.
Yep.
We'll give you a starting card, flip it over. If you get one wrong, that's you out. But we're making a little league table of our guests. So
we'll be top of the league after that.
Aye, definitely top of the league. But do try your best. So Pedro is going to give me the...
I've lost the Forza whistle from Terry.
Old Peter Column next to me, the referee. Gollum.
It's a nice green whistle you've got there.
Belly gives it.
So Pete's going to start us on the 30 seconds, and I will start you with your question. But as I say pass. If you don't know, I'll move on to the next one.
Yep.
Right. Ready?
Good to go. Which Scottish Championship side has 100% league record so far this season?
Ayr United.
True or false, Tommy Goss scored 10 league goals last season?
False.
Which Scottish team has the nickname the Gable Endies?
Montrose.
Which team beat Queen of the South 3-0 at Palmerston Park on Saturday?
Airdrie.
Who scored the first goal in the Celtic Rangers recent 3-0 win?
No idea.
Finish.
Didn't watch Rangers Celtic.
That's alright.
I'd rather watch paint.
Have we got? So we'll go through the answers to see how many you got correct.
I'm not sure.
Oh, he's nervous.
Oh.
So the first question was, which Scottish side has a 100% league record so far this season? You said Ayr.
Yeah.
No, Falkirk. 4 out of 4. Ayr have drew 1 game. True or false, Tommy Goss?
I was thinking top of the league.
Aye.
Yeah, but
I said Ayr in the practice one.
Falkirk have got the game in hand, haven't they?
They have, yes.
It's a great start to the season for John and his team.
Brilliant. True or false, Tommy Goss scored 10 league goals last season. That was true.
I thought it was more.
Aye, well, he didn't.
See, I'll give the stats this year, not a problem.
Which Scottish team is a nickname of the Gable Endies? Is Montrose correct with that one? Which team beat Queen of the South 3-0 at Palmerston on Saturday? Was it Airdrie? And then who scored the first goal in the Celtic Rangers 3-0 win for Celtic? It was Dyson Maeda. So how many did you get right?
2.
2 right. So we've got 2 flips. So you've got
That's
2.
poor.
But you've got
That's
a chance to get 4
It
here.
is poor, very
You've
poor.
got a chance to
All
get
right, Pete.
right. So
Pete failed at the first question. What's your name?
So Pete will give you the starting card, and Pete will talk you through what card we've got for our listeners.
First card is the 4 of diamonds for Willie's. Higher or lower, Will?
Higher or low, you've got 2 chances.
Is ace high or low?
Ace is low.
Ace is low.
Higher.
Higher than a
High.
4.
Locked in.
Locked in.
Ooh. Queens. These have been shuffled. That's what she's looking at me.
So you've got a queen, higher or lower for another chance.
Queen of spades. So you're going lower. 9 of hearts.
Oh, well done, Willie boy. That's you. So you've got 4. Top of the league with 4.
Well done, top of the league.
Well done, Willie boy. So
Brilliant.
that was good.
That was good. That went better than
Aye. I got my questions all right, so that was all right.
nearly. You had a stroke after the first question.
So we'll go on to the quick fire questions, which we've kind of preempted with you as well. We sent them over so you had an idea, because these are kind of ones we're going to send to every guest and ask the same questions, and obviously we'll get loads of different answers. So the first one is
it quick fire or
No,
you can delve into it a little
Right,
bit,
okay.
not too long, but a little bit. What's the best stadium you played at and why?
Old Trafford.
Oh, of course.
For obvious reasons. Grew up a Man United fan, and do you know, it's not every day you get the opportunity to play Old Trafford in front of a full house.
Yep, great one. There'll be many that'll beat that, I don't
No,
think.
that's a great one.
Who's the best player you've played with or against, and why?
So against the easy ones, Michael Carrick, Wayne Rooney on that day.
Pick one.
But
Can't say 2, like.
No, I said one.
when I was at Kilmarnock, played against Celtic, Nakamura stands out.
What a player.
Nakamura was unbelievable. The absolute wonder left foot. I don't know if you remember.
Free kicks.
You remember when Coma worked on it all week? Well, I'm not having a wall. If he's 30 yards out, we're not having a wall, because the wall just helps him at the end of the day. So he didn't go for a wall, he's still stuck in the bin.
Honestly, it went from no wall to 1-man wall to a 6-man wall to the whole team was in a wall. We tried everything. It was unbelievable.
He'd still score.
So what a player. Aye, good one.
And then again, looking at the best finisher, Rory, but I'd say best player overall, John Neal.
Good. What's been the most enjoyable part of your career? And this could be changing room, could have been when you were best in form. Again,
Club
just
that looked after you.
club that looked after you, anything.
So I've already touched on a couple of things, but there was a period of time where I spent at Stranraer, and it was my second spell. First spell was under Stevie Aitken. We reached the playoffs and we got beaten in the playoffs. I then went to Dumbarton with Stevie, and I decided to go back to Stranraer. And then when I went to go back, I think they were second or third bottom, and they were really toiling. Belly was part of the team. He was a captain, and we went back and everything gelled, and we went on an unbelievable run. And when you talk about special dressing rooms and stuff, the players that we had in it, was there superstars? No, but there was everybody there willing to work for each other, do their jobs, drive the team forward, and we ended up that year making the playoffs and only getting beat on penalties by Ayr United, which was obviously such a sore point given you're that close to getting promoted.
Yeah.
But the achievement from second or third bottom and going on that run, and then obviously Annan, when I joined Annan, similar, they were struggling, and we go on good run and make the playoffs. And there's no better feeling in terms of as a player or a manager success. And we go on that run, and again, outside noise, it's only wee Annan been there, and we managed to achieve promotion through the playoffs. And whether it be winning the league outright or whether it be promotion through the playoffs, the outcome's the same, and then you're in the league above, and that was a massive achievement as well.
Great. Hardest opponent you've played against? So this could be, again, somebody who's unbelievably talented, somebody who's a prick.
Aye, hardest. We mean here,
yes.
obviously the best in that community you mentioned, but let's say hardest.
This is a name where I've played with him as well.
All right, okay.
And I used to hate playing against him, and we got on really, really well. But on the pitch, hated him. Stephen McKenna.
Ah, right, okay.
Just an out and out battler, a winner. He would go and smash you, wouldn't care, but the nicest guy away from football.
Nasty on the pitch.
Horrible. Absolute arsehole. Honestly, hated it. I remember I actually got sent off because the referee had seen something different when it was me and him. He actually came in to do me, and I've tried to pull out, but as I've pulled out, it looks like I go to have a stamp, but I don't. I'm actually just getting out the road because I knew it was coming. I could see it coming. But aye, arsehole on the pitch, absolute gentleman off the pitch.
Aye. I don't mind that.
Aye.
I don't mind that. Aye.
And he was another one that was very close to being in the 11 because of what it contributed to the team. Hard tackler, organisation, passing ability was really good. But I hated playing against him.
Lastly, tell us something we don't know about you, Wullie.
I think as a footballer, you run the risk of just living your life that everybody knows, because you're always, in the spotlight and whatever else. But what I think people will not know is I like cooking. Oh,
favourite dish?
I've got so many.
Give us one.
You've really stuck it in me now.
Christ.
Yeah, Pete likes to hear that as well.
For your audio listeners.
I'm still in my seat.
I'm not actually sure, but I do make a good homemade katsu curry. I do. I'm not into making my own pasta and all that. I'm not that busy, but I do like cooking, and I probably do. I would say 95% of that at home.
Here's a stat or a fact that, again, another one for Wullie. Training nights, Wullie makes pasta.
Do you?
Aye. So we spoke about
gaffer come cook.
Aye, but we spoke about boys travelling down for up the road and attracting players that we're obviously wanting at the club. And I think if you treat the players right and you give them everything that they need, the next time they're talking to somebody that you're maybe trying to recruit for later on, next season or January or whatever, and you're well looked after down there. So it's nothing Michelin star or anything, but make up pasta and bring it into training, and we all sit and eat together. I think it's important as well that when you're part-time, you've just got 2 nights a week together, so it's important that you sit down, the boys come in, they've got a wee community cabin where they'll have their toast and their yoghurt, their fruit and all that before training, and after training we'll eat together and then have a wee bit of banter, and that, I think that's really important. It knits everything together.
Bring the cakes in for the worst at shooting, don't they?
I think it's not looking good this year because I think our strikers have brought the most cakes. Gowser.
What?
You can have it every week for me. The cakes are fantastic.
I think Gowser had it 3 weeks in a row. Lost the shooting. Aye.
Is he going off training like 10 minutes early so he's pulled his hammy and that? Oh, I need a rub.
I'm feeling tight, Gaffer. Aye. It's just a thing that we've carried on. I think most clubs have it, that if you lose your shooting you bring cakes in, so we sit down and enjoy a cake on a Thursday night.
No, good for morale, good to hear for all the Annan fans, a little insight to what's going on at training. But Pete's got some lovely questions. That's where we're moving on next. Fan questions that have been sent in through our social media. Please send in more questions when we release our guests. We want you guys to be involved as much as possible, so it's great that we've got some for you, Pete.
Interaction, isn't it? That's what it's after. So, firstly, from Keith Drysdale, who's the best professional you have played with, and what was it that impressed you? So I think we've touched on it a couple of times, but obviously for Keith.
Well, that's actually a good question, but it's a different question because he's not asking the best player.
No,
so he's asking the best professional. And again, we touched on how hard Nazy worked and whatever else. But there's one player that comes straight to the top of my head, and it's Rory Payton.
Aye, just does everything right.
There was a time at Queen of the South where, and Toddy will back us up, I had to have conversations with Rory and say, look, you're doing too much. You're doing
too much.
Can a player do too much? I don't know. You're then looking at the output on Saturday. Are they fatigued, or is there higher risk of picking up injury and whatever? But this guy was an animal.
Right.
He would be in. So say we trained at 10 o'clock. He's done his first shooting session before training.
But again, like, this will lead on nicely because he's just got to move, eh?
He has.
Aye.
But
So
again. So yep. So work rate, hard work.
Aye.
I always say the motto is hard work beats talent, and talent doesn't work hard. But this, honestly, the best way to describe him was an animal. He had done a shooting session. He would then train. He would then want more, and then he would go to the gym afterwards, and that was every day. Ask him what he did in the day off. It's not a day off. But again, that's, I think.
Some would say quality over quantity. That's what I say.
Is that what you get told?
Nick takes that.
That's good though. Right, so next one from Mr. Annan himself, Alan Irvin. This is a two-parter.
Why are you laughing?
So, how many hours prep work do you put in to get ready for a Saturday?
I couldn't even say it's a lot.
It's ongoing.
Because you've got your Tuesday and your Thursday night as your highlighted nights where that's your opportunity to prepare the players, to work with the players. But on a Monday and a Wednesday and a Friday, you're looking at everything. You're looking at the opposition. You're looking at what players are available, systems, possible scenarios in the game. You're then obviously dealing with injuries. So a player that might be a massive player for you isn't training on a Thursday but is he available for a Saturday? Do you then take the risk? There's so many possibilities, but it's no just everybody thinks part-time football 2 hours a couple of nights a week. It's no that, it's more than that. It's probably a full-time job, to be honest. And I think the more attention and detail you can put in it, that obviously helps results.
And the second part is the floodlights have to be off at 9:30 on a training night. I swear to God, that's what you put on the Facebook post.
So we actually said last night, because we had a longer session, because part-time, like I say, you only get the opportunity to work with players Tuesday and a Thursday. So Tuesday night, probably your working night, you do the longer session, you put more into it, and then you've got the opportunity to then give the boys that haven't played on the Saturday a little bit extra. So we're doing that, and Pete's like, Gaffer, lights have got to be off. This was at 20 to 10. They might be off at 9:30.
That's just ginger though.
I'll just let Pete deal with that.
The man that does everything, or has done every single role at the club.
Yeah.
He used to come in, turn the lights off at the club, turn the lights off in the changing room, turn the showers off in the changing room, turn it off in the changing room.
Amazing.
Done everything. He used to do that. Like, come in, when it used to be a grass park, the pitch would the game would be at the top left. He would be on the bottom right with the fork.
Aye.
With the fork, filling the divots in. Running on, then running back off when the pitch when the game come back down this side.
So next week when the lights just cut off, you know why that's happening. Somebody flicked the switch.
Oh, some man. Then we've got David Marco 44. Do you feel you're happy with the central defence? Do we have enough cover?
So this has been a question that's been thrown at me a couple of times, and the answer is yes. If I felt that we needed somebody else, we'd go and get somebody else.
Yep.
And still budget there. My preference is to leave what budget I've got in case I need to make changes in January or for whatever reason. We've obviously got Scott Hooper coming back.
Yeah. Who will be like a new signing.
He will be. He's had
a
minor setback. Which is then took him over the expect. And that's why I didn't. Everybody kept asking me to put a date on it. I was reluctant to do that. But if you look at that now, you've got Charlie Barnes, who came in on Saturday to play right here, back three. Did really well. You've got Tam Muir. You've got Max Kilsby. You've got young Gallagher that can play there.
Rico.
I can play there. Rico can play left side centre. So we have got enough cover. I think what fans look at it and think, right, Tam and Max have played every game. What happens if something happens to them? But Tam and Max have played every game because they deserve it, because they've been excellent together. They've been solid. Now I know we look at the 5-1 recently at Steny. That doesn't just solely rely on them. That's a team performance.
Yep.
Everybody's got accountability for that one, myself included. But in terms of depth, I'm happy with the squad.
Yeah, good. Number 4 is from Alright Beats.
Craig B.
Maybe. And is it true that Paul McGowan brings jam butties for half time?
Jam butties? Is there any?
I just said jam pieces, sorry.
Jam pieces?
Abbreviated.
Jam pieces, does he? You see him sitting in these jam pieces at half time?
We've obviously missed something. There must be a private joke.
It must be a
private joke there.
Power horse.
We'll have to ask him tomorrow night what.
Just Saturday, just put some jam pieces at his
Imagine he
place.
never got them if he does bring them. Well, won't he? He calls me specky bastard.
Does he? He's right enough, though, isn't he?
And the last one is
have you seen how much he's... Just put your glasses on, Pete. It's all right.
I've not got them with me.
I know you're on camera, but
Can
just
he
put them
see?
on. Can he see?
Sorry for everyone at home. Pete can't actually see what he's reading here.
Last one's from Wingdine69. Where is your favourite place to go on holiday?
Oh.
That's a joke question.
It's a joke. Is that you? You're a fanny.
Well, where is your favourite place?
I don't know. I would say that
You
instead
wanna
of a favourite place, the best holiday I've had is my honeymoon in the Maldives. That was just something I've never experienced before.
I can't believe I
Absolutely
had to explain
amazing.
that fucking joke. Good one, eh?
Was it a joke?
Shite. You
Gets
need to
what-
come better for the next
Worst all
one.
the time. I know.
What was the tag's name? Wingdine69. How would you just start laughing at that?
Oh, jeez.
To be fair, you've just asked a question about jam butties, so how did I again?
That wasn't me. I swear. It was maybe girls as missus or something.
Well, that's us coming to the end of the episode. Wullie, enjoyed the
Thoroughly
show?
enjoyed it. I think I touched on it at the start about bringing awareness to the club and bringing new ideas, and I think, like you talk about, interaction. I think that's a massive thing. I'm all for that. Like you say, the question and answer when I first got the job, I think the interaction between staff, players and the fans, I think it's crucial. It gives the fans more of an insight, but to answer any questions they've got or to see what we're doing that they maybe don't know that we're doing, there's loads of things, and then obviously building relationships is important.
Pete, how have you found co-piloting today? Enjoyed the first episode?
Yeah.
When's the transfer window open for that?
Look at your hot
He's swooping in the mass seats,
So
too.
you COVID. I'm on the own tonight.
So you've enjoyed it?
I enjoyed it. Have you enjoyed it?
It's been great. I genuinely, it has been really good.
You need to check your script for that.
No, I need to check
See what
the script all the time.
I'll ask you, are you pleased with the outcome of what you have put together?
It has been a lot of hard work, and it's not just thrown together. We want to do it right. So, and again, hopefully the guys that are listening, watching, have enjoyed it, because I think it's important that what we're producing here, it's good, it's light-hearted, but it's an insight to careers, what's going on at the club at the moment. So there's so much to it as well. So it's been great. So yeah, so just like to say a big thanks from me and Pete for watching and listening to the Black and Gold podcast. Again, please like, share and follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Black and Gold podcast. Once again, many thanks to all our viewers and listeners, and until the next episode, bye from us all at the Black and Gold podcast.
Fly.